In today's journey, we're taking a look at the Flash brew kits available from morebeer.com. But of course, we have to put our own spin on it by fermenting it in a BrewDemon Conical. There will of course be links in the description for those who wish to follow along. And for those who prefer to do 5 gallons, they do have 5-gallon batches of all the recipes. We recommend doing those in Firmzillas so that you can pressure ferment them, then dispense directly from the fermenter. Professional? No. Easy? Yeah. But for now, let's get back to the 2-gallon Hefeweizen. We of course start with the most important step, sanitizing. Because no matter how simple they make the brewing process, germs are still a thing, and yeast hits competition, so that's why we will be thorough in washing our hands. Today's sanitizer is Star San, and Phil is accentuating it by using black natural gloves. This is not only to help protect Phil from the chemicals, but also to protect the beer from Phil. It might feel a little overkill right now, but learning good safety practices now could mean better beer brewing in the future. But for now, let's focus on the present, in which we're adding 1 gallon to the fermenter to start with. For best results, we recommend using store-bought water, or you could use tap water if you run it through a filter. The main problem is we want to avoid chlorine or chlorinade, but so long as it's good tasting water that you'd drink if it wasn't beer, then you'd probably be fine. And if you're wondering why I don't hate this mix and brew kit like I do other ones, it's that you get to actually see the ingredients, even these extract hops. It's something that only normally professional brewers get to use, but today we get to hold them in our hand and use them. Though, of course, remember to take the cap off before actually shooting your shot. And do it safer than Phil, because you could shoot your eye out, kid. And since we're adding everything, and it doesn't matter what order you do it in, we're gonna do hops next. And what's great again is that we get to actually hold them in our hand. We can smell them. We can taste them, but don't do that one. But what we can also do is see how different hops are different from each other. We may not be performing the high-stakes brewing activity that the dictionary defines brewing as, but we are getting to know ingredients. For example, this Hefeweizen kit is different than the other flash brew kits, because this is a beer style that depends on yeast flavors. So the yeast will be different. And if you're doing a 5-gallon batch, you may even think about getting a liquid yeast, because it'll make the beer that much better. But do check your updated recipe sheet. Make sure that if you're supposed to add a whole packet, that you do that, because we should have only added half a packet. Go Team Phil. And would you look at that? We're almost completely done. We just have the malt extract to add. The instructions didn't say a specific order, so we just did this randomly. And something I'd really like to know is this malt extract different, or can we just use regular malt extract if we wanted to? Because I find it insane that the instructions just say mix all the ingredients together, no stirring required. Because whenever working with malt extract, I always feel like I'm wrestling with clumps. But perhaps they use an anti-kicking agent. They'll have to reach out to me and let me know. In exchange, I'll give them a little feedback right now. It'd be really cool if there was more information on what's next in the brewing adventure, or how to customize some of these a bit. For example, it'd be cool to make a cherry wheat, add a little frozen cherry in there, be pretty good. And while I do appreciate that the instructions are extremely straightforward and no nonsense, it would be nice if there was a more defined path for more information. For example, a first-time brewer of these kits shouldn't worry about putting things into a secondary, but for those who have done these kits before and would like to make them a little better than last time, moving to secondary would help with some of the clarification issues that we have later. Like, it wouldn't need to come with all the recipe kits, but the equipment kit, it would be great if it came with a poster that went more in depth about how to make better beer. I would think of it as the missing link between flash brewing and reading how to brew, or the joy of home brewing, as it is my belief that a stronger foundation will lead to more brewers staying in the hobby. And with that ADHD rant over, we move on to the next step, which is adding the 2nd gallon of water. We believe they do this so that you don't have to mix it, but we have a secret. We recommend mixing anyways. And although I'm sure it would be fine if you don't physically mix it, but we're just sticklers to doing things the old-fashioned way, I suppose. Plus, we would like to make sure that all the sugar is fully mixed together, as we would like to do some hydrometer readings. Also, we are fermenting in a conical fermenter, which is different than what the directions call for, and that may actually have an impact, so we would like to make sure that it doesn't get all separated out in the funnel below. Also, fun fact, it would be cool to get a bit of oxygen mixed in anyways. So that's why we're going to use our immersion stick blender. Freaking awesome. Battery powered, super dangerous. Great for mixing things in the brewery. But do of course be careful when using metal equipment on plastic fermenters, whether you're using the BrewDemon Conical or the Fermonsters. Either way, scratches in plastic can lead to trouble in future brews, such as infections. But that can also be mitigated with proper cleaning, which we do seem to notice these instructions kind of gloss over the fact that you will need to do a fair amount of cleaning, even if you're not doing an aggressive brew day. It's almost like they're trying to hide the fact that one of the most common things a brewer does is clean. But lucky for us, our day one work is almost over. We just need to close up the fermenter whichever way that your fermenter closes up, add an airlock, and this is ready for the fermentation ball. And by that we mean put the fermenter in a room that is 65 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 to 14 days. Something that seems to be omitted from the instruction sheet is that the room that you place it in should also be void of sunlight, as hops are photosensitive. Even though we didn't boil them here to create isoalpha acids, it will still react to the sunlight and create a skunk flavor. But I digress. It should be about 12 to 48 hours before you see any fermentation, and it should look something like this. That green line is nothing to fear, it's just the hops getting stuck to the side of the fermenter. Over the next couple of days, you should see the airlock be active, the krausen rise and fall a bit, and over time, you will start to see more and more crud gather at the bottom. Its technical term is called trub, and it is the dead yeast and hops falling out. And as this happens, it's perfectly natural for the beer to change colors. So if your beer is not the color you were expecting it to be in the beginning, just give it some time and it may change with age. Also, beer looks darker when in a fermenter than a glass because a glass is narrower and absorbs less light. But you'll know fermentation is complete once the airlock stops bubbling for 2 days straight. Of course, we would recommend using a hydrometer for more scientific measurement. But in honor of morebeer.com, we're going to grip it and rip it. Just like we're going to try to grip it and rip it by using a pump, which is actually, as you're about to see, a really bad idea. But let's watch. As the overconfident Phil thinks it's a good idea to use a mechanical pump to move a carbonated beverage. Now, slightly carbonated, but carbonated nonetheless, which is why we're seeing an extreme reaction of head coming off the top, and makes this bottle pretty much useless. But, we had fun and we tried something out. But in a smarter move, what we will do is move to the high ground. By the power vested in my sit-stand desk, we are able to raise the fermenter so that we could use gravity and still film it. We would just recommend moving the fermenter to a higher spot, but we're filming. And a benefit of us filming is that we can show you how to sanitize the spigot, which they kind of completely gloss over. See, the trick is you need to get sanitizer up in there. Otherwise, it's going to be contaminated when you naturally carbonate. So sanitation's important, whether it's in the instructions or not. And we have done this off camera, but the hose, the bottles, and everything, including Phil, have been sanitized, which one could say is why his jokes are so flat these days. And what you can see going on here now is we're getting a little bit of head, that's fine, but these bottles are filling much nicer. You will want to go almost all the way to the top, leaving about an inch of a head space in the neck. This is actually more important as it may seem, as leaving too much or too little head space may not only lead to over or undercarbonated beer, but could lead to broken bottles. If you are doing this alone, it may be easier to do one task at a time and then move on to the next. For example, fill all the bottles, then worry about capping them later. If you have someone to help you, make an assembly line. But since we're making a flash brew kit, it's best to keep in mind that we're not brewing the best beer in the world. And that's fine, because what we're doing with flash brews is learning the process. Because it's real easy to get caught up in the hype of brew day and how the head brewer is the rock star of all breweries. But in reality, brew day is actually a small part of the fermentation process. And since brew day is Latin for everything's going to go wrong, it's nice to have practice batches where you can focus on the cellaring or the cold side of fermentation versus brew day. Like, yeah, it's cool and fun to buy all that brewing equipment when you first start, but where are you going to ferment 5 gallons of beer in your house? Like, do you have the room? Does that room maintain a constant temperature? There are a lot of little things to think about that will cause problems during fermentation. So no one should feel shame for making a flash brew kit, even if they are already an all-grain brewer. Maybe they just want to do a quick batch. There's no shame in it. Have fun. This is a hobby where you're supposed to be having fun. Or at the very least, not crapping on the fun of others. Like, just let other people do it, even if you don't want to brew a flash brew. And crap, I wasn't paying attention to Phil. So apparently he's gonna finish off bottling by putting the rest of the beer into a keg. This is partly so that we can move on to the next phase of bottling. So, hold on 1 second while we take care of this. If you're wondering, we're using the Kegland Oxybar Mono PET kegs. Links in the description, but we haven't got our full opinion on these yet. Technically, my highfalutin brewing technology certificate says I shouldn't trust plastic kegs, though. We're almost done, but don't get distracted with cleaning just yet, because these bottles are still open, and we want to get them closed with the pop shots as soon as possible now. And pop shots are something that are kind of cool, because you can just add a few of these to a bottle and not have to measure out any corn sugar or boil it ahead of time. The dark side of them is they don't list what the binder is, which is probably gluten. So if you have any dietary concerns such as celiac disease or trying to keep kosher, these may not work best for you. See, that's those years of working in homebrew stores coming to pay off. I may not have the willpower to do the research on each individual item, but my customers with diseases that could kill them, they will definitely inform me so that I can help the next customer. And while I may not know everything that's inside every ingredient that we use, I do know how to use them best. For example, I constantly see people fitting their hand directly into the bag to grab them out. That is horrible. Do you see how I dished mine out onto a watch glass? Very demure, very mindful. You see how I also pulled one out that was extra? You notice how I didn't put it back in the bag? That's because it would introduce moisture or other potential contaminants, or just make them all stick together. Or, do what you want. Regardless, now that we have 4 in the little bottle and 6 in the big bottle, we're ready to go. We're just going to close these tops and let them sit in the same place that we fermented in, because we know it's the right temperature already. And if you're thinking these look a little cloudy, well, you're not completely wrong, but this is a Hefeweizen, and it should be cloudy. Just maybe not this cloudy. But fear not, because we're about to have more fermentation anyway, so it would get cloudy again anyways. Plus, if you were really after clear beer, you would want to do a secondary before moving to bottling. And here, as you can see, as we've moved on to 2 days later, we're already starting to see some clarification. And then another day, even more clarification. And then as you can see, we'll just let it keep going farther and farther until we get to the full 14 days and it's relatively clear. Pop these in the fridge for a couple of hours and you're ready to have a party. But hey, ever wonder why you want to drink beers cold? Well, because CO2 sits better in cold liquids than warm liquids. And as you can see, it's explosive. I mean, this isn't infection levels of explosive, but it is still making a mess. And as you can see, even without wanting to, all that crud on the bottom is making thick, chunky chunks for delicious, chunky soup beer. So, while we do highly appreciate what flash brewing kits are doing for getting people into brewing, we may be a little fearful that it's also doing things that are going to scare people away. Because why would someone want to make beer at home if it's chunky? And interestingly enough, we're not actually maddest at the no boil part. That's fine. We can get past that because we have our summarized hops in the form of the hot shop. I think skipping the secondary when you already have all that malt extract wanting to fall out of solution. This problem is only compounded when we decide to then naturally carbonate in the bottle too, adding to more sediment. But the proof is in the pudding, or the beer, so let's pour some and see how it tastes. It's definitely not the first time I've seen chunks this big in a beer. However, it is the first time I made the beer. And it's also the first time I've made a Hefeweizen with such small banana and clove characteristics. This kind of was a letdown, but I was expecting that when the supplied yeast was WB06 instead of what it should have been W68. Which would have provided more of that Weizen flavor for this Hefeweizen recipe. So if it wasn't for the chunks, this would have been a great American wheat. But as a German wheat, nah. Hopefully when they update this to have the smaller yeast sachets, they we'll update the yeast flavor as well. But we will be definitely revisiting these flash brew kits in the future, as they seem pretty solid as a base. I just don't completely trust all the decisions they're making in the instructions and their ingredient choices. But hey, since you've made it to the end of the video, how about you let us know what your thoughts are in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, maybe check out some of our other videos. And if you would like to support us, check the links in the description, or just like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, happy brewing.